Blue Beetle was a dandy sequel in a series of flaws by the DCEU and is their worst grossing movie yet. It's kind of funny how Warner Bros. Always manage to break their records with every new movie release. It almost makes me feel sorry for them, almost. That said, they are a multi-billion-dollar corporation, so yeah, I'll hold my sympathy, thank you. Now, we all know the DCEU is in dire straits, and it's not just because of the horrific decisions of the big guys off screen, it's also because of problems within the movies. Movies across board have deteriorated so badly, it makes my eyes bleed. That's right, I'm looking at you, MCU Phase 4. I just haven't had your time yet. And while we obviously can't spend our time telling the big guys how to market and not destroy their franchises, we sure as well can tell them how to write better stories and point out fatal flaws. Speaking of which, there was one in this movie that, oh my god, was repulsive. And by repulsive, I mean it was bad. Like bad. And you're gonna find out why, so let's get into it. Now, the movie started off on a relatively good note, I have to admit, and I have to say that I was kinda hopeful for where it would go. We see a Mexican boy fresh out of college, excited to go home and hopeful about the future. In some years, he'll get a high-paying job at a law firm and save his immigrant family from the rut. For the most part, I did enjoy the movie. I mean, the characters were relatable, and though the story isn't entirely new, it is a very solid story, and it's also relatable. The main character was also likable enough, and the actor nailed the performance quite well. Long story short, I had a good time with the movie until things started taking a steep turn. So our main character meets this cool woman that's from a family that is loaded. And when he decides to display his chivalry to her, she presents him with the prospect of a job, which is his only motivation at this point of the movie. One thing leads to another, and he finds himself holding something literally alien inside a McDonald's pack. He opens it even when she very clearly tells him not to, cause why not? And he ends up syncing with an extraterrestrial Jarvis, which can summon for him literal death blades the size of a body, sonic cannons, and oh, he can fly. Anyway, while this extraterrestrial unwraps a whole lot of cool weapons and flying, it also brings a world of pain in the form of a mercenary in a death suit similar to his. And sure, that's not enough reason to despise this obviously cool alien that literally gave you the ability to imagine any weapon into existence. However, that same alien is why your family and home are under threat. It is also one of the reasons your father died. You have another billionaire related to the person who gave you this thing in the first place, going into your home and outright trying to kill every member of your family. And you're just mildly angry? Sure, I get it. He isn't meant to sulk and just be angry at everything. Nonetheless, everyone's got natural anger, and I can reckon this whole scenario would sure as well bring it out in me. Jaime was still all lovey-dovey even after finding out that this woman might have just ended his life as he knew it. There was no reason for him to trust her. Everything she told him could very well have possibly been a lie. And why would he just assume that it couldn't actually? Because he had a crush on her? I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense. He literally just met her. That's about his relationship with the girl, and we'll still get back to that, because we have a lot to say about her. Briefly, if you're enjoying this video, do well to like and subscribe, as you would be helping me and this channel a great deal. Back to the video. Now, his relationship with the alien or scarab, sure, he's got some new power, okay, but now you also have a vile billionaire and a Terminator goon after you. And most importantly, your family. I can't stress enough how worried I would be knowing my family could be targeted. I would freak the frack out. It's not overreacting, it's a normal reaction. Like, why would he assume that his family would be safe? And I know some people will be like, well, he was trying to get rid of the scarab. And to that I say, yeah, he was very busy doing that while trying to kiss that girl who quite literally just ended his life. All that said, this point at the movie isn't even where it starts to distort reality. We got the scene where his father dies, or rather the excruciating scenes after the fact. After this man dies of a heart attack owing to the obvious shock of the events of that night, the family understandably weeps for him. Let's not forget that Jaime has been captured. Let's just hold on to that for a sec. Anyway, after the family mourned their father for like literally 10 minutes, they decide to become superheroes themselves, obviously not learning anything from Jaime's experience. Let's get this straight, I am aware that this is a movie, it is a work of fiction, but some things don't just add up. In what world does an extremely important person like your husband or wife die, and literally that night you're all up in arms with the person who in some way or another contributed to that person's death? Tell you what, I know I'd be stomping on their face. And the worst part is, Jenny didn't even have to do too much, they all just went with it. And how is Granny all of a sudden the talkative? I thought that was the uncle's job. This whole thing with Jenny becomes even more baffling later in the movie, but we'll get to that. In any case, they follow Jenny to try and rescue Jaime. They get her bug ship and they start testing all this cool technology. OMG, this laser revolver is so cool. I'm sure Dad would have liked it. Anyway, RIP Dad, love you. I'm not gonna lie, toward the end, the family felt like chess pieces solely to move the plot forward. If you're gonna kill a character off and change the tone of the story, let the tone stay changed. That's the whole point. It's meant to give a sense of impact. But alas, the producers decided they'd rather have it funny than impact. It's even worse when you consider just how impactful that scene was. What with Jaime's capture, the man's life slowly fading away, just everything about that scene. I mean, if you're gonna put that much effort into a character's death scene, you might as well make the impact stick instead of trivializing said death. Anyway, for better or for worse, the family's on the superhero bandwagon and now they're going to rescue Jaime. And this is where things start getting funky. The fact that this movie can't tell whether it's PG or not is beyond me. It was disturbingly similar to Venom when it wasn't supposed to. Jaime's a very morally grounded guy and doesn't want to kill anyone. His family, on the other hand, they have no qualms with putting people on the ground. An example was that scene where his grandma just rips out that giant laser AK and starts gunning everyone down without a second thought. And I'm just sitting here like, okay? She does know they're dying. This movie presented itself as very PG and gory at the same time. It felt like Encanto mixed with Venom, like adding Johnny Walker to a can of Coke. Moving forward, Jenny and Milagro find where Victoria is keeping her stash of OMAC Terminator suits, and they decide to blow it all up, which is justifiable. And then they do this bonding thing, which isn't. Is it really necessary for the supporting characters to find common ground? Cause I don't know why they did this. They were onto something by having Milagro distrust Jenny from the onset, but they just threw that out the window cause plot, I guess? This is someone that is meant to be experiencing a range of emotions right about now. She should probably not be able to properly articulate her emotions, but here she is, psyched about her cool toy that her cool new BFF gave her. Now I can't speak much about how our MC Jaime must be feeling at this point, but I'm guessing worse, seeing as though he's literally about to join his father. At any rate, he and his deceased father have a chit chat in his subconscious, the afterlife, the in-between, and he tells his son that he should be brave and embrace his destiny as the new Blue Beetle. You know, the usuals. Jaime then wakes up from the in-between and through a surge of ungodly shonen anime adrenaline, he doesn't die. Then he and Carapax engage in a death match, and you know, somehow it always comes down to this. Think about it. We've got Hulk versus Abomination, Venom versus Carnage, King Kong versus Godzilla. It's a theme, really. On another note, we see Victoria making away with her loving niece on a chopper. And oh wait, she isn't restrained. Well, ain't that convenient? I guess you can assume by now where this is going. She is conveniently allowed to pop a suspicious little bubblegum into her mouth, and the rest is history. I don't know if Victoria is just way too trusting or straight up blind. Carapax shoots down Jaime's uncle with his death ray, and Jaime enters his awakening, if you will. And through another surge of ungodly shonen anime adrenaline, Jaime beats the out of Carapax. When Jaime's done with clapping Carapax, his dark side emerges, and he's ready to use those oversized alien blades to rip him to shreds. However, in a confusing twist, the Scarab's now the good guy, and suddenly it's opposed to killing. Maybe he converted, who knows. Anyway, Jaime doesn't end up killing Carapax, and we get this montage of his childhood, how he became Terminator 5.0, and everything in between. Now, I have to admit this scene was touching just because things like this happen in real life. I mean, there are people with power and influence that use and manipulate others into doing horrible things, just because they can, really. And even if the guy literally just got a compilation of photos to explore his entire character, it was nice that they gave him a backstory at all. I suppose that was his redemption for the terrible things he'd done, but then again, we didn't get to spend enough time with him for it to be justified. I felt like he just converted on a whim, and I know it's a movie, it's gotta be concise, but it is what it is. Victoria dies in a fireworks show. Now that was satisfying. I don't know what it is with resolutions, but many movies do not know how to land it. Jaime finally embraces his newfound sentient death armor. The family is all in black, apparently mourning the father that they totally forgot about not long ago. Oh yeah, and now they're besties with Jenny. Cool, right? I really don't get how everyone's just okay with having this woman around, or even the Scarab for that matter. It just isn't realistic. Either that or Mexican people are way too nice. Tell you what, the resolution of this movie isn't supposed to be even a fraction as lighthearted as it was. At the very least, the main characters are meant to be trying to come to terms with their new reality and the burden of losing their loved one. The man doesn't even get a burial in this film, and everyone's just laughing in their black robes. P.S. How on earth did they think that Jenny Cord wouldn't pay for damages? Talk about grade A pretense. Leave it to the Keys. No, leave it to the billionaire whose crazed aunt burnt down the building in the first place. Anyway, that's been my take on Blue Beetle. Just when you think it's gonna end well with these guys, they go ahead and make a sharp 180. That said, there's a movie that did a 360 in fact, and that would be Ant-Man Quantumania. And I'll be doing a review on that as well. Subscribe and like this video to know when it's up. Let me know your thoughts on the movie down in the comments, and watch this video right here. Thanks for watching. Until next time, Jana.